I was standing at my kitchen counter, slicing tomatoes for dinner, when my daughter Paige walked in with her husband Dylan trailing behind her. She didn't say hello. She just looked at me and said, "Dylan's parents are moving in next week. They sold their house, so we need your bedroom for them. You have to find somewhere else to live by Friday." I laughed. I actually laughed out loud because I thought she was joking. But then I saw her face. She was serious. Dead serious. The spatula slipped from my hand and clattered against the counter. I stood there, frozen, staring at my daughter, my only child. The little girl I had raised alone after her father passed away 3 years ago. "Paige," I said slowly, trying to keep my voice steady. "Can you repeat that?" She crossed her arms, her face set in that stubborn expression I knew so well. "Mom, you heard me. Frank and Diane need a place to stay. They're moving in, and we need your room. It's the master bedroom. You need to be out by Friday." Friday? 5 days away. I looked at Dylan, who was studying the floor like it held the secrets of the universe. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "And where exactly do you expect me to go?" I asked, still holding on to the hope that this was some kind of misunderstanding. Paige shrugged, actually shrugged. "You're retired, Mom. You have Social Security. Get an apartment or something. There are plenty of places for seniors." The words hit me like a slap. Seniors. Places for seniors. As if I were some burden to be shuffled off to a facility. I set down the knife I'd been holding and wiped my hands on a towel. My mind was racing, but I kept my voice calm. "Paige, I moved in here 3 years ago because you asked me to. You said you needed help with the kids. You said it would be better for everyone if we lived together." "That was different," she said impatiently. "The kids were younger then. And besides, you live here rent-free. You should be grateful we've let you stay this long." Rent-free, the words echoed in my head. I had sold my home when I moved in with them. My beautiful 3-bedroom house that my husband and I had paid off completely. Paige had begged me to come live with them, saying she was overwhelmed with work and the kids and needed her mother, and like a fool I had believed her. No, not like a fool. Like a mother who loved her daughter and wanted to help. When I sold my house, I gave Paige $50,000 as a gift to help with their mortgage. $50,000 that I could have used to secure my own future. But I wanted to help my daughter build her life. For 3 years, I had been paying for groceries, all of them. Every week, I filled the cart at the supermarket, and the bill came out of my checking account. The utilities? I paid those too, because Paige said money was tight. The kids' school expenses, their activities, their clothes, I covered it all. And the cooking, the cleaning, the childcare. Every single day, I woke up at 6 in the morning to make breakfast. I packed lunches for the kids. I drove them to school and picked them up. I helped with homework. I made dinner every night. I did the laundry, scrubbed the bathrooms, vacuumed the floors. Paige and Dylan both worked full-time, and when they came home, they relaxed. They had dinner waiting for them, clean clothes in their drawers, their children bathed and ready for bed, and I had done it all gladly, because I loved them, because I thought we were a family. "Grateful," I repeated softly. "I should be grateful." "Yes," Paige said, her voice sharp. "We've given you a place to live for 3 years, but things change. We need the space now." Dylan finally spoke up, his voice weak. "My parents really need help, Bernadette. They're getting older." I looked at him. Frank and Diane were 63, 4 years younger than me. Something shifted inside me in that moment. It was like a curtain being pulled back, and suddenly I could see everything clearly. I had been used, taken for granted. And now, when I was no longer convenient, I was being discarded like yesterday's trash. "I see," I said quietly. Paige's expression softened slightly, mistaking my calm for acceptance. "It's nothing personal, Mom. We just need to do what's best for our family." Our family. As if I weren't part of it. "When do Frank and Diane arrive?" I asked. "Next Tuesday," Dylan said, looking relieved that I wasn't arguing. "And you need me out by Friday." "Yes," Paige said firmly. That gives us the weekend to get your room ready for them. I nodded slowly. All right. Paige blinked, surprised. All right? Just like that? Just like that, I said. I'll be out by Friday. She actually smiled. Thanks, Mom. I knew you'd understand. She kissed my cheek and headed upstairs. Dylan mumbled something that might have been a thank you and followed her. I stood alone in the kitchen, surrounded by the dinner I'd been preparing. The tomatoes on the cutting board, the pot of water boiling on the stove for pasta, the garlic bread warming in the oven. I turned off all the burners. I turned off the oven. And then I went to my bedroom and closed the door. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the small desk in the corner of my room, and I made a list. A very detailed list of everything I owned, everything I had paid for, everything I had contributed to this household over the past 3 years. And then I started making phone calls. The next morning, Wednesday, I called my lawyer. I hadn't spoken to Patricia in months, but she remembered me immediately. Bernadette, how are you? How's life with your daughter? Patricia, I need to ask you a legal question about the house. There was a pause. What about it? Whose name is it in? Another pause. Longer this time. Bernadette, it's in your name. You know that. When you gave Paige the $50,000 3 years ago, we used it as the down payment and put the house solely in your name for tax purposes. Remember? Paige and Dylan were supposed to refinance within a year and put it in their names, but they never did. You've been paying the mortgage from your account ever since. My hand tightened on the phone. I had known this, of course, but hearing it confirmed felt like a key turning in a lock. So legally, I own the house. Completely. It's 100% yours. Is everything okay? Everything is fine, I said. I just needed to confirm. Thank you, Patricia. Bernadette, if something is going on, I'm here to help. I know. I'll call you back soon. I hung up and made my next call. To a moving company, then to a storage facility, then to my bank. By noon, I had a plan. Thursday morning dawned clear and bright. Paige and Dylan had already left for work by the time the moving trucks pulled up in front of the house at 8 o'clock. I had been up since 5, directing the movers on what to take and what to leave. Everything that belonged to me was tagged with a yellow sticker, and there was a lot more than I had realized. The living room sofa and love seat? Mine. I had bought them when I moved in, because Paige's old furniture was falling apart. The coffee table and end tables? Mine, from my previous home. The lamps? Mine. The rug? Mine. In the dining room, the table and 6 chairs were mine. The china cabinet was mine. The dishes inside it were mine. The kitchen was nearly gutted. The pots and pans were mine. The dishes, glasses, and silverware were mine. The toaster, coffee maker, blender, and stand mixer were mine. The kitchen table and chairs were mine. I had left them the microwave. I wasn't completely heartless. In the kids' rooms, the beds and dressers were mine. I had bought them when I moved in, because the kids were outgrowing their toddler furniture. The bookshelves and most of the books were mine. The toys I had purchased over the years were mine. In my room, everything was obviously mine. The washer and dryer? Mine. I had bought them a year ago when the old ones died. The television in the living room? Mine. Even many of the towels and linens were mine. The movers worked efficiently, loading everything into their trucks. I had rented a storage unit across town where everything would go temporarily while I figured out my next steps. I was standing in the nearly empty living room, checking my list, when I heard Paige's car screech into the driveway. She must have gotten a call from a neighbor. Our street had probably been abuzz with gossip all morning. She burst through the front door, her face red and panicked. "What are you doing?" she shrieked. "What is all this?" "I'm moving out," I said calmly. "Like you asked me to. But you can't take everything." "I'm taking what's mine, Paige. You said I needed to leave. I'm leaving. But the furniture, the appliances, everything. All mine," I said. "I paid for it. I have the receipts." She looked around wildly, taking in the nearly empty house. The movers were carrying out the dining room table. Another team was disconnecting the washer and dryer. "This is insane. You're having some kind of breakdown." "No," I said quietly. "I'm not. For the first time in 3 years, I'm thinking clearly." Dylan's car pulled up next. Paige must have called him. He ran into the house, his tie loosened, and his face flushed. "Bernadette, what is going on?" "I'm moving out," I repeated, taking my belongings with me. "You can't do this," he shouted. "Where are we supposed to sit? What are we supposed to sleep on? How are we supposed to live?" "I don't know, Dylan. How were you expecting me to live when you told me to get an apartment with 5 days' notice?" He opened his mouth, then closed it. I reached into my purse and pulled out an envelope. My hand was steady as I held it out to Paige. "What's this?" she asked suspiciously. "Open it." She tore open the envelope. Inside were several documents. I watched her face as she read through them. First confusion, then shock, then absolute horror. "The house is in your name?" she whispered. "Yes, but we thought. You thought what? That I had signed it over to you? I gave you $50,000 for the down payment. I put the house in my name temporarily. You were supposed to refinance and put it in your names. You never did. And I've been paying the mortgage ever since." Dylan grabbed the papers from Paige's hands. His face went pale as he read. "You're evicting us?" he said hoarsely. "I'm giving you 30 days' notice, as required by law. That's more courtesy than you gave me." "You can't do this," Paige said, her voice rising. "We have children. Where are we supposed to go?" The words hung in the air between us. "I don't know, Paige. Maybe you should have thought about that before you told your mother to get out with 5 days' notice." Dylan's shock was turning to anger. "This is ridiculous. We'll fight this. We'll sue you. You can't just throw us out of our home." "It's not your home," I said simply. "It's mine. Check with any lawyer you want. I own this house. I've paid for this house, and I'm selling it." "Selling it?" Paige's voice cracked. "Mom, please. Please don't do this. We made a mistake. We shouldn't have asked you to leave. I'm sorry. Please." It was the first time she had apologized. "The 30 days starts today," I said. "You can stay until then, but on the 31st day, you need to be out. I'm putting the house on the market immediately. It should sell quickly in this neighborhood." "But what about the kids?" Paige was crying now. "What about Sophia and Liam?" My heart ached at the mention of my grandchildren. Sweet Sophia, 10 years old with her bright smile. Liam, 8 years old and full of energy. I loved them more than anything. But I couldn't back down. Not now. "The kids will be fine," I said. "You'll figure it out. You're their parents." "We don't have money for first and last month's rent and a security deposit," Dylan shouted. "We've been putting everything into this house." "Into my house," I corrected. "And you weren't putting money into it." "I was." Paige sank onto the floor, sobbing. "How could you do this to us? To your own grandchildren? How could you do what you did to me?" I asked softly. "I gave you everything. My home, my money, my time, my love. I took care of your children. I took care of your house. I took care of you. And you told me to leave because I wasn't convenient anymore." The movers emerged from the back of the house, carrying the washer. One of them cleared his throat awkwardly. "Ma'am, we're just about done. Just need to get the dryer and a few more boxes." "Thank you," I said. "I'll meet you at the storage facility." I picked up my purse and walked toward the door. Behind me, I could hear Paige crying and Dylan cursing under his breath. I paused at the threshold and looked back at them, sitting in their nearly empty house. "You have 30 days, I said. "I suggest you use them wisely." I walked out, got in my car, and drove away. In my rearview mirror, I could see Paige on the front porch, her face in her hands. My phone started ringing before I even reached the end of the street. I turned it off. I checked into a hotel room that afternoon. It was a nice place, clean and quiet, with a comfortable bed and a view of the city. I sat on the edge of the bed and finally let myself feel it all. The hurt, the betrayal, the grief, but also something else. Something I hadn't felt in a long time. Freedom. Friday morning, I woke up in my hotel room and reached for my phone. I had turned it back on before bed, and the notifications were overwhelming. 73 missed calls, 49 text messages, 11 voicemails. I made coffee using the little machine in the room and sat down to read through them chronologically. The first messages were from Paige, sent late Thursday night. They were angry, accusing me of abandoning my grandchildren and destroying the family. She said I was being vindictive and cruel. She said she would never forgive me. Then came messages from Dylan. He had apparently consulted with a lawyer friend who told him they could fight the eviction. He threatened legal action. He said I would regret this. Around midnight, Paige's messages changed tone. She was crying, begging me to reconsider. She said the kids were asking for me. She said, please come back. Then there were messages from a number I didn't recognize. I opened them and felt my blood pressure rise. They were from Diane, Dylan's mother. She called me selfish. She said I was a terrible grandmother. She said what kind of woman throws her own daughter out on the street. She said I should be ashamed of myself. The irony was almost funny. Almost. I deleted her messages without responding. The most recent messages were from this morning. Paige, again, more desperate now. She said Frank and Diane were arriving today, and she didn't know what to tell them. She said the house was empty. She said they had nothing to sleep on, nothing to cook with, nowhere to sit. I set the phone down and finished my coffee. Then I got dressed and went to meet with a realtor. Her name was Susan, and she met me at the house at 10 o'clock. Paige's car was gone. Dylan's, too. They must have gone to work, or maybe to buy some emergency furniture. Susan walked through the house, taking notes and photos. It's a beautiful property, she said. Great neighborhood, good school district. Even empty like this, it's going to sell fast. How fast? I can have it listed by Monday. In this market, you'll probably have offers within a week. Perfect. We discussed pricing, and I signed the listing agreement. Susan assured me she would handle everything. After she left, I drove to look at condos. I had appointments scheduled at 3 different properties. The third one was perfect. 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a nice kitchen, and a balcony with a view. It was in a quiet complex with a pool and a small gym. The price was well within my budget. I put in an offer on the spot. Then I met my sister Margaret for lunch at our favorite cafe. Margaret was 2 years older than me, and we had always been close. I had told her everything that had happened, and she had been furious on my behalf. How are you holding up? She asked, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. I'm okay, I said. Better than okay, actually. I feel like I can breathe again. Good. You did the right thing, Bernie. Paige needed to learn this lesson. I know. But it's hard. Of course it's hard. She's your daughter. But she treated you terribly, and she needed to face consequences. We talked for 2 hours, and by the time I left, I felt stronger. My phone rang as I was driving back to the hotel. It was Paige. I let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again. And again. Finally, I answered. Mom. Her voice was thick with tears. Mom, please. You have to help us. What's wrong? They're here. Frank and Diane. They just arrived. And Mom, the house is empty. They're so angry. They're yelling at Dylan. They're yelling at me. They're saying we lied to them about having a place ready. You did lie to them, I pointed out. You told them they could have my room. But you forgot that you don't own the house. Please, she sobbed. Please don't do this. They're awful, Mom. They're so much worse than I expected. What do you mean? Diane has been criticizing everything since the moment she walked in. She said our house is a disaster. She said we're terrible housekeepers. She asked why there's no furniture. Frank is demanding to know when we're ordering beds for them. They expect us to buy them everything. And Mom, they told Dylan they expect to stay indefinitely. They didn't just sell their house. They lost it. They're broke. They have debt. They lied to us about everything. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired. Paige, you made your choice. You chose Dylan's parents over me. Now you have to live with it. But I didn't know it would be like this. Dylan promised me they would help us. He said they'd give us money, but they don't have any money. They expect us to take care of them. And they're so mean, Mom. Diane is so critical and demanding. She's already taken over the master bedroom even though there's no bed in it yet. She said it's the biggest room, so obviously it's theirs. The master bedroom, I repeated. The one you kicked me out of. Paige was quiet for a moment. Yes, I'm sorry this isn't working out the way you planned, Paige. But it's not my problem. Mom, please. I'm begging you. Take back the eviction notice. Let us stay. I'll make it up to you. I promise. No. What? No, Paige. I'm not taking it back. You're staying for 30 days, as agreed. Then you're leaving. I'm selling the house. I've already listed it. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. Use the next 30 days to figure out where you're going to live. I hung up. My hands were shaking. That evening, I had dinner at a nice restaurant near the hotel. I sat alone at a table by the window, ordered a glass of wine and the salmon special. I took my time, savoring each bite. For the first time in 3 years, no one needed me to cook for them. No one needed me to clean up after them. No one needed anything from me. I felt guilty for feeling relieved, but I felt relieved anyway. When I got back to the hotel, there were more messages from Paige. I didn't read them. I turned off my phone, took a long bath, and went to bed early. I slept better than I had in months. 1 week passed, then another. The house had been on the market for 3 days when the offers started coming in. 2 offers on the first day, both above asking price. 3 more by the end of the week. Susan called me excited. Bernadette, you're not going to believe this. We have a cash offer for $30,000 over asking. They want to close in 3 weeks. 3 weeks. That would leave Paige and Dylan 1 week to get out after the closing. Take it, I said. That same afternoon, a courier delivered legal papers to my hotel room. Paige and Dylan were suing me. I sat on the edge of the bed and read through the complaint. They were claiming that I had promised them the house, that I had manipulated them, that I had taken advantage of them. They were demanding that I transfer the house to their names immediately and that I pay them damages for emotional distress. They were also claiming that I owed them rent for the 3 years I had lived there. Rent. For living in my own house. The house I had paid for. I called Patricia, my lawyer. She read through the complaint while I waited on the phone. Then she laughed. Actually laughed. Bernadette, this is ridiculous. They don't have a case. At all. Are you sure? Positive. You have documentation of everything. The down payment that came from your home sale. The mortgage payments from your account. The property tax payments. The deed in your name. They're claiming you coerced them? You have proof you've been supporting them for 3 years. This will get thrown out immediately. So what do I do? We respond. We file a motion to dismiss. And if they want to push it, we countersue for harassment and the cost of the legal fees. Will I have to go to court? Probably for a deposition, just to get it on record. But, Bernadette, try not to worry. This is going to go nowhere. The deposition was scheduled for the following week. It took place in Patricia's office, with Dylan and Paige's lawyer present, a man named Gerald, who looked barely out of law school. I sat across the conference table from Paige and Dylan. This was the first time I had seen them since the day I moved out. Paige looked exhausted. Dylan looked angry. Gerald asked me questions about my relationship with my daughter, about the arrangement when I moved in, about the finances. I answered each question calmly and factually. Yes, I moved in at Paige's request. Yes, I sold my home and gave her $50,000. Yes, the house was put in my name. Yes, I had been paying the mortgage. Yes, I had receipts and bank statements for everything. Patricia laid out document after document. 3 years of mortgage payments, all from my account. property tax payments, insurance payments, grocery receipts, totaling thousands of dollars, receipts for furniture, appliances, the kids' school expenses. The evidence was overwhelming. Gerald was starting to look uncomfortable when he pulled out one last document from his briefcase. "Mrs. Patterson, can you explain this?" He slid a paper across the table. I picked it up and read it. It was a document, dated 3 years ago, that appeared to show me promising to transfer the house to Paige within 5 years. At the bottom was a signature that was supposed to be mine. I looked at it carefully. Then I set it down. "This is a forgery," I said calmly. "Excuse me?" Gerald said. "This is not my signature. Someone forged this document." Patricia leaned forward. "May I see that?" She examined it closely, then pulled out her phone and took several photos. "This is clearly a forgery. The signature doesn't match. Look at the formation of the letters. Bernadette's real signature has a very distinctive loop on the B. This one doesn't." She pulled out copies of other documents with my real signature for comparison. The difference was obvious once you knew what to look for. "Where did you get this document?" Patricia asked sharply. Gerald looked at Dylan and Paige. "My clients provided it." "Which one of you forged this?" Patricia demanded. Dylan and Paige looked at each other. Paige went pale. "I didn't," Paige said quickly. "Dylan, you said your mother found this in some old papers." Dylan's face was turning red. "She did. She said she found it in a box when they were packing up their house." "Your mother forged a legal document?" Patricia said. "That's a serious crime. That's fraud. We can press criminal charges." "Wait," Dylan said, standing up so fast his chair fell backward. "Wait. Let me call her. Let me talk to her." He pulled out his phone and left the room. We could hear him in the hallway, his voice rising as he argued with someone on the other end. When he came back, his face was ashen. "She admits she did it," he said quietly. "She said she was trying to help. She thought if we had proof that you promised the house, the court would make you give it to us." The room was silent. Gerald closed his briefcase. "I think we're done here. I'll be filing a motion to withdraw from this case." "We'll be filing a countersuit," Patricia said, "for harassment, legal fees, and emotional distress. And we'll be reporting this attempted fraud to the district attorney." Paige started crying. Dylan just stood there, looking like his world was collapsing. And maybe it was. After they left, Patricia turned to me. "Are you okay?" "I don't know," I said honestly. "This is all so much worse than I thought it would be." "You're doing the right thing," she assured me. "Standing up for yourself is never easy, especially with family. But you're doing the right thing." I went back to my hotel room and lay down. I was exhausted, not physically but emotionally. This whole situation was taking a toll I hadn't anticipated. My phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Grandma?" It was Sophia, my 10-year-old granddaughter. "Sweetheart," I said, sitting up. "How are you?" "I miss you," she said, and I could hear the tears in her voice. "When are you coming home?" "Oh, honey, I'm not coming home, not to that house." "But why not?" "Mommy said you're making us move. She said you're being mean." My heart broke. "It's complicated, baby. Frank yells all the time," she whispered. "He yells at Daddy, and Diane is mean to Mommy. She says mean things about how Mommy cooks and cleans. And Liam got in trouble at school because he's sad all the time. Grandma, please come back. Please make it better." I closed my eyes. This was the hardest part. The kids were suffering, and they didn't understand why. "Sophia, I love you so much, and I love your brother, but I can't come back to that house. Your mommy and I had a disagreement, and sometimes grown-ups need space to figure things out. But I need you," she sobbed. "I know, sweetheart, and I need you too. But right now, things are difficult. It's going to get better, though. I promise." "When?" "Soon," I lied. Or maybe it wasn't a lie. Maybe things would get better soon. I just didn't know when. "I have to go," she whispered. "Diane is coming. She doesn't like it when we use the phone." "Okay, baby. I love you. I love you too, Grandma. She hung up. I sat in that hotel room for a long time, staring at nothing. Sophia's voice echoed in my head. The pain in it. The confusion. Had I done the right thing? Was I being selfish? Should I have just accepted being kicked out without fighting back? No, I couldn't let myself think that way. I had done nothing wrong. I had been treated badly, and I had stood up for myself. But it didn't make it hurt any less. 2 weeks after the deposition, I woke up with chest pains. It was 3 a.m. I sat up in bed, gasping, my hand pressed to my chest. The pain was sharp and radiating down my left arm. I grabbed my phone and called 911. The paramedics arrived within minutes. They ran tests right there in my hotel room, then insisted on taking me to the emergency room. The ER was bright and busy even at that hour. They ran more tests, an EKG, blood work, a chest x-ray. Finally, a young doctor came to see me. Mrs. Patterson, you didn't have a heart attack, but your blood pressure is dangerously high, and you're showing signs of severe stress and anxiety. When was the last time you had a full physical? I couldn't remember. You need to take care of yourself, he said seriously. Stress can kill you just as surely as any disease. Whatever is causing this level of anxiety in your life, you need to address it. He prescribed medication for my blood pressure and anxiety. He told me to follow up with my regular doctor. He told me to rest. I was discharged at 6 a.m. I took a taxi back to the hotel and collapsed on the bed. I had never felt so alone in my life. I called Margaret. She answered on the second ring, her voice thick with sleep. Bernie, what's wrong? I told her everything. About the chest pains, the ER, what the doctor had said. I'm coming to get you, she said immediately. Pack your things. You're staying with me for a few days. Meg, you don't have to do that. I'm your sister. Of course I have to. I'm leaving now. An hour later, Margaret arrived at the hotel. She helped me pack my suitcase and drove me to her house across town. Her guest room was cozy and quiet. She made me tea and toast and sat with me while I ate. Bernie, you need to take care of yourself, she said gently. This situation with Paige is eating you alive. I know, I whispered. But I can't back down now. If I do, I'm just teaching her that she can treat me however she wants, and I'll take it. I'm not saying back down. I'm saying you need to find a way to move forward. This limbo you're in, it's destroying you. She was right. I had been in this hotel for 2 weeks, living in a kind of suspended animation, waiting for the house to close, waiting for Paige and Dylan to move out, waiting for my life to start again. What should I do? I asked. I think you need closure. Not with the house. That's moving forward fine. But with Paige, you two need to talk. Really talk. Not about the house or the eviction or who did what, but about how you both feel. She won't listen. Maybe not. But you need to try. For your own peace of mind. That afternoon, my phone rang. It was Paige. I almost didn't answer. But remembering what Margaret said, I picked up. Mom. Her voice was small, defeated. The hot water heater broke. We don't have any hot water, and we don't have money to fix it. A month ago, I would have rushed over immediately. I would have called a plumber and paid for it myself. Now, I paused. The house is closing in a week, Paige. Technically, I don't have to fix anything. It's being sold as is. But the kids, she said. They need to be able to take baths. They need hot water. Please, Mom. I closed my eyes. The kids. Always the kids. I'll pay for the repair, I said slowly. But only if you agree to something. What? Family counseling. 1 session. Just you and me. We sit down with a therapist, and we talk. Really talk. There was a long silence. Fine, she said finally. When? I'll set it up and let you know. I called a plumber and arranged for the water heater to be fixed. Then I called a family therapist that Margaret had recommended. Dr. Rachel Chen had an opening in 2 days. Wait, I can't use Chen. Let me change that. I called a family therapist that Margaret had recommended. Dr. Rachel Foster had an opening in 2 days. 2 days later, I met Paige in Dr. Foster's office. It was a small, comfortable room with soft lighting and 2 couches facing each other. Paige looked terrible. She had dark circles under her eyes, and she'd lost weight. She couldn't meet my gaze. Dylan had refused to come. "This is between you two," he had told Paige. Dr. Foster was in her 50s, with kind eyes and a calm presence. She invited us to sit and asked how she could help. Paige started talking immediately, her words tumbling out. She talked about how stressed she was, how Frank and Diane were impossible to live with, how Dylan was no help, how they were about to lose their home, how her mother had abandoned her in her time of need. I sat quietly and listened. When Paige finally stopped, Dr. Foster turned to me. "Bernadette, would you like to share your perspective?" I took a deep breath, and then I told my side of the story. All of it. How I had sold my home and moved in to help. How I had given Paige $50,000. How I had paid for everything and taken care of everything for 3 years. How Paige had told me to leave with 5 days' notice so her in-laws could have my room. Paige interrupted several times, trying to justify or explain, but Dr. Foster gently asked her to let me finish. When I was done, the room was quiet. "Paige," Dr. Foster said gently, "do you understand why your mother felt hurt by what you did?" "I guess," Paige mumbled. "But I didn't think she'd react like this. I didn't think she'd kick us out. She's my mother. She's supposed to help me." "And you're her daughter," Dr. Foster said. "You're supposed to love and respect her. Can you see how telling her to leave might have felt like a betrayal?" Paige's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't mean it that way. I just thought she'd understand. Dylan's parents needed help." "And I didn't?" I asked quietly. "I needed help too, Paige. I needed to feel valued and appreciated. Instead, I felt used. And when I was no longer useful, I was discarded." Paige started crying in earnest now. "I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. I was so focused on my own problems that I didn't see what I was doing to you." It was the first real apology she had given me. "I know you're sorry now," I said. "But you weren't sorry when you told me to leave. You were only sorry when there were consequences for you." "That's not fair, isn't it?" Dr. Foster leaned forward. "Paige, I want you to think about something. If your daughter, when she's grown, treated you the way you treated your mother, how would you feel?" Paige's face crumpled. "I'd be devastated. Then you understand how Bernadette feels." We talked for another 40 minutes. Paige admitted she had taken me for granted. She admitted she had been jealous of my independence after her father died. She admitted she had resented that her father left everything to me in his will, even though that was completely normal and appropriate. She admitted she had been drowning in her life and had used me as a life raft without ever thanking me for keeping her afloat. I admitted that I had enabled her, that I had done too much and expected too little in return, that I had been afraid to set boundaries because I was afraid of losing her love. By the end of the session, we were both exhausted. Dr. Foster looked at me. "Bernadette, what do you want from this situation? What would a good outcome look like for you?" I thought for a long moment. "I want my life back," I said finally. "Not the life I had with Paige and Dylan. That wasn't healthy for any of us. I want my own space, my own independence. But I also want a relationship with my daughter and my grandchildren. A real relationship, based on mutual respect." "And are you willing to cancel the house sale to make that happen?" Dr. Foster asked. "No," I said firmly. "The house is sold. That chapter is closed. Paige and Dylan need to find their own way, but that doesn't mean we can't rebuild our relationship separately." Dr. Foster turned to Paige. "Can you accept that?" Paige nodded slowly. "I have to. I don't have a choice." "You do have a choice," Dr. Foster corrected. "You can choose to be angry and blame your mother, or you can choose to take responsibility for your actions and work on rebuilding trust." We left the session with a plan to meet again in 2 weeks. It wasn't a solution, but it was a start. A tiny crack in the wall between us. But I still wasn't canceling the house sale. The house closed on a Tuesday morning. The buyers were a young couple with a baby on the way. They were excited and grateful. They kept thanking me for accepting their offer. I signed the papers, handed over the keys, and walked out of the title company with a check for $215,000. After paying off the remaining mortgage and closing costs, I had cleared over $190,000. It was more money than I had expected. Enough to buy my condo outright and still have a comfortable cushion for retirement. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I just felt tired. Paige and Dylan had 1 week left to get out. I hadn't spoken to Paige since our counseling session, but I had been getting updates from Margaret, who had been getting updates from neighbors who were friends with Paige. Apparently, things had gone from bad to worse. 3 days after the closing, my phone rang at 11 o'clock at night. It was Paige. Mom. Her voice was strange, flat, defeated. Paige? What's wrong? Everything, she said. Everything is wrong. Dylan lost his job. What? His company downsized. He's been let go. He doesn't even get severance because he was still in a probationary period from a promotion he got 6 months ago. My heart sank. I'm sorry. That's terrible. It gets worse. She laughed, but it was hollow. Frank and Diane's creditors found them. They're being sued for $30,000 in credit card debt. The people showed up at the house today with papers. And Mom, the school called. Liam got in a fight. He's been suspended for 3 days. The counselor says he's acting out because of stress at home. I didn't know what to say. We can't afford to rent anything, Paige continued. Dylan's been looking, but without a job, no one will rent to us. Even the places we could afford with my salary alone, they want references and a good credit score. And Dylan's parents ruined their credit, which somehow affected ours because he co-signed on something for them years ago that I didn't even know about. Paige, I'm so sorry. I'm not telling you this to make you feel guilty, she said, and I believed her. I'm telling you because I need advice, not money, not the house, just advice. What do I do? It was the first time she had asked me for advice, instead of demanding that I fix her problems. Have you looked into housing assistance programs? I asked. Or what about short-term rentals while Dylan looks for a new job? I've applied for assistance, but there's a waiting list. And short-term rentals are so expensive. What about Dylan's brother? Could you stay there temporarily? Jerome lives in Colorado, and he and Dylan don't really get along. We talked for an hour. I gave her what advice I could. Look in neighboring counties where rent is cheaper. See if any friends or family could help temporarily. Check into payment plans for the debt. Contact the school about resources for Liam. When we hung up, I felt heavy with sadness for her situation. But I also felt something else. Respect. For the first time, Paige had come to me as an adult, asking for guidance, not as a child demanding that I fix everything. The next morning, I got another call. This time from Dylan. Bernadette, it's Dylan. I know I don't have the right to ask you for anything, but I'm asking anyway. Not for me. For Paige and the kids. What happened? My dad had a stroke last night. A minor one, but still. He's going to be okay, but he needs to be monitored. He needs care. And I can't do it. Not with everything else falling apart. What do you need from me? Nothing. That's not why I'm calling. I'm calling to tell you that my mom is demanding I take them back to Colorado to live with Jerome. She says she can't handle this anymore. She wants to leave. And I'm going with them. I'm leaving today. I'm going to drive my parents to Colorado and stay there until I figure out what to do next. Maybe I can find a job there. What about Paige? What about the kids? There was a long pause. Paige isn't coming, he said quietly. We had a huge fight. She said if I leave, we're done, and I'm leaving anyway. Because honestly, Bernadette, I can't do this anymore. The marriage is over. It's been over for a while. We both know it. We've just been too afraid to admit it. I sat down, my legs suddenly weak. Dylan, you have 2 children. I know, and I love them. I'll send money when I can. I'll come back to visit. But I can't stay. I'm drowning. And if I don't get out now, I'm going to go under completely. You're abandoning your family. Yeah, he said. I guess I am. Just like Paige tried to do to you. And he hung up. I immediately called Paige. She answered on the first ring. You know, she said. Not a question. Dylan called me. He left an hour ago. Her voice was eerily calm. Packed up his parents and everything he could fit in the car. Said he'd send for the rest later. Said he needs time to figure things out. Paige, I'm so sorry. Are you? She didn't sound angry. Just curious. Of course I am. He's the father of your children. He's also a coward. He couldn't handle things getting hard, so he ran. At least you stood up for yourself when you left. He just gave up. We were both quiet for a moment. Mom, I'm scared, she whispered, and suddenly she sounded like a little girl again. I have no husband. In 3 days, I have no house. I'm barely hanging on to my job because I've missed so much work. The kids are a mess. I don't know what to do. Where are the kids now? At school. I had to go back to work today or I was going to get fired. I'm on my lunch break. Paige, listen to me. You're going to be okay. How? How am I going to be okay? I've lost everything. You haven't lost everything. You still have your children. You still have yourself. You're stronger than you think. I'm not strong like you. Yes, you are. You just don't know it yet. She started crying. Not the angry, manipulative crying from before. Real, broken sobs. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. For everything. For how I treated you. For taking you for granted. For kicking you out. For being such a terrible daughter. I'm sorry. And listening to her cry, I felt my own anger finally begin to dissolve. She had learned her lesson, the hardest way possible. But she had learned it. I know you are, I said softly. I don't deserve your help. But Mom, please, please, I'm begging you, not for me. For Sophia and Liam. They didn't do anything wrong. Please don't let them suffer for my mistakes. I looked out the window of Margaret's guest room. I thought about my grandbabies, about Sophia's voice on the phone, crying, about Liam getting in fights at school. I thought about Paige, alone and desperate, and finally understanding what she had done. And I made a decision. Pack what you can fit in your car, I said, the 3 of you. Tonight after you pick up the kids from school, don't worry about the furniture or anything else, just clothes and important papers. What? Why? Because tomorrow morning, you're meeting me at a place I found. It's a 2-bedroom apartment in a decent neighborhood. It's small, but it's clean and safe. I'm going to pay first month, last month, and security deposit. After that, you're on your own. Mom, I can't let you do that. Yes, you can. But there are conditions. Anything. You keep your job. No matter what. You work hard and you keep that job. You get the kids into counseling. And yourself too. You continue therapy. You learn to budget and manage money, and I'm going to teach you. You stand on your own feet from now on. No more bailouts after this one. Do you understand? Yes? Yes, I understand. And Paige, this is the last time I rescue you. After this, you rescue yourself. I will, Mom. I promise. Thank you. Thank you so much. We arranged to meet the next morning. After we hung up, I sat for a long time, wondering if I was doing the right thing. Margaret came in and sat next to me. You're helping her. How did you know? Because you're you, and she's your daughter, and those are your grandchildren. Am I being stupid? Am I just enabling her again? No, Margaret said firmly. You're giving her one more chance, one final chance to prove she's learned and grown, and you're doing it with boundaries and conditions. That's not enabling. That's love. I hoped she was right. The next morning, I met Paige at the apartment complex. It was in a quiet neighborhood about 20 minutes from her job. The 2-bedroom unit was on the 2nd floor, with a small balcony and a view of the complex's courtyard. It wasn't fancy, but it was clean and safe and affordable. Paige walked through it slowly, her kids holding her hands. Sophia and Liam had been quiet and subdued when they arrived. It's perfect, Paige said, her voice thick with emotion. Mom, it's perfect. I signed the lease and wrote the checks for the deposit and first 2 months' rent. Then I handed Paige the keys. It's yours for 2 months, I said. After that, the rent is on you. Can you do it? She looked at the keys in her hand. I can do it. Good. Sophia suddenly broke away from her mother and ran to me. She wrapped her arms around my waist and buried her face in my stomach. I missed you, Grandma, she sobbed. I held her tight, tears streaming down my own face. I missed you too, baby. So much. Liam joined the hug, and then Paige did too. We stood there in the empty apartment, the 4 of us, holding each other. I love you, Mom, Paige whispered, and I'm going to prove to you that I can do this. I'm going to make you proud. I'm already proud of you, I said. You're here. You're trying. That's all I need. Over the next few weeks, I watched Paige transform. She went to work every day. She took the kids to their counseling appointments and went to her own. She kept the apartment clean. She learned to cook simple, budget-friendly meals. On weekends, Sophia and Liam came to stay with me at my new condo. I had finally closed on it, and it was everything I had hoped for. Bright and peaceful and mine. I spoiled my grandchildren appropriately. We baked cookies and watched movies and did puzzles. I helped them with homework and listened to their fears and worries. I assured them that their family might look different now, but they were still loved. Dylan called occasionally from Colorado. He had found a job and was sending child support, though not as much as he should have. Paige was filing for divorce. She seemed sad but also relieved. Frank had recovered from his stroke but would need ongoing care. Diane had blamed Dylan for everything and was barely speaking to him. The whole situation was a mess, but it was their mess now, not Paige's. Not mine. I started a new life for myself. I joined a book club at the library. I started volunteering at a local food bank. I reconnected with old friends I had lost touch with during the years I spent taking care of Paige's family. Margaret and I took a trip to the coast, something we'd talked about for years but never done. I was happy. Genuinely, deeply happy. 6 months after everything fell apart, Paige invited me over for dinner at her apartment. She had learned to make pot roast, and it was actually pretty good. The kids were doing better. Sophia's grades had improved. Liam hadn't been in a fight in months. After dinner, while the kids were doing homework in their room, Paige and I sat on her small balcony with cups of tea. Mom, I need to tell you something, she said. What's that? I want to say thank you, not just for the apartment or the money. Thank you for not backing down. Thank you for letting me fall. I needed to fall. I needed to learn that I couldn't just use you and expect you to fix everything. You're welcome. I spent so many years taking you for granted. I thought because you were my mother, you'd always be there no matter how I treated you. I thought your love was unconditional, so I could treat it carelessly. Love is unconditional, I said. But that doesn't mean accepting mistreatment. I love you unconditionally, but I also love myself enough not to let you use me. I get that now. And I'm teaching Sophia and Liam the same thing. About boundaries and respect, and standing up for yourself. Good. She reached over and took my hand. You're the strongest person I know, and I want to be like you when I grow up. I laughed. Paige, you're 40 years old. I know. But I'm just now really growing up. Finally learning what you tried to teach me all along. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun set over the courtyard. I thought about everything that had happened. The pain and betrayal, the anger and hurt, the fear and uncertainty. But I also thought about the growth, the boundaries I had established, the life I had reclaimed, the relationship I was rebuilding with my daughter, stronger and healthier than before. I had almost lost myself trying to be everything to everyone. I had confused sacrifice with love, giving with enabling. I had thought that being a good mother meant never saying no, never having boundaries, never putting myself first. But I had learned differently. I learned that love doesn't mean letting people use you, that being a good mother doesn't mean being a doormat, that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone face the consequences of their choices. I learned that my worth isn't in what I provide, but in who I am. I learned that it's never too late to reclaim your life. I learned that boundaries aren't cruel. They're essential. And I learned that sometimes you have to break something completely for it to be rebuilt correctly. The following Sunday, I was at my condo, sitting on my balcony with a cup of coffee. Sophia and Liam were inside, making a fort out of blankets in the living room. Their laughter floated through the open door. Paige was coming to pick them up soon. She had worked extra hours all week and wanted to take them to the park. I looked around at my life, my beautiful, peaceful, independent life, a life that was mine. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hurt anymore. I was free. And my daughter, watching me from across whatever room we were in, finally understood what strength really looks like. It looks like knowing your worth. It looks like setting boundaries. It looks like loving yourself enough to walk away from mistreatment, even when it comes from the people you love most. And it looks like having the grace to help someone up after they've fallen, while still requiring them to stand on their own 2 feet. I took a sip of my coffee and smiled. Life was good. Now, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to choose between helping someone you love and protecting yourself? How did you handle it? Did you set boundaries? Or did you sacrifice your own well-being? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like. It helps others who might need to hear this message find it. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel for more stories about resilience, boundaries, and finding strength in difficult times. Share this story with someone who might need to hear it. Someone who's struggling with boundaries in their own family. Someone who needs permission to put themselves first. Sometimes we all need a reminder that it's okay to stand up for ourselves. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope it brought you comfort, encouragement, or maybe just the reminder that you're stronger than you think. Remember, it's never too late to reclaim your life and your peace. Take care of yourselves. You deserve it.